I'm going to bring in the royal commentator Victoria Howard, who's the editor of the Royal News website, the Crown Chronicles. Victoria, thanks very much for joining us. And what are your reflections as we follow these events today?
I think it's the concern that everyone is showing about the monarch. Of course, as you said, it's very unusual for the palace to comment in this way that her doctors are concerned about the state of her health. So naturally, that's put everyone on kind of high alert as to what's actually going on. She's been a little bit in decline with her mobility issues in recent months, and it does just send alarm bells ringing, particularly as the family are trying to go and see her, with many people, speculating on what that actually means.
We're just obviously following the reports of who's on their way to Balmoral. I understand at this stage, actually, Victoria, that the Duke of Sussex is on his way there, but he didn't travel with the other group. But that the Duchess of Sussex, apparently, contrary to reports we had earlier, is not travelling to Balmoral. What do you make of that?
I think that's kind of unusual, actually. Of course, we've had a bit of a tumultuous time with the royals and Harry and Meghan in recent years with their interviews and talking about their situation and experience of the royal family. So that does strike me as a little bit odd when most of the royals that are going in couples. Charles and Camilla, for example, we think Edward and Sophie have travelled together. So slightly strange, but we don't believe the Duchess of Cambridge is there either. So perhaps that's more looking after the children, thinking of the wider family. So just sending kind of the most close members of the family to see her. But maybe it does indicate something to do with the state of the relationship. Of course, we can only speculate about that. But of course, things aren't always quite as rosy as they might seem within the House of Windsor on that front.
As we see crowds gathering at the palace, and as we were saying earlier, it's not the kind of day in central London where lots of crowds are going to come out at this point anyway because of the rain, and looking for, I suppose, messages and wanting to leave messages of support for the Queen. It's a good moment for us to reflect, Victoria, really on the kind of presence and the kind of, I suppose, consistency, the reassurance that the Queen's presence has given so many people over so many decades.
I agree completely. And that's one thing that comes up time again when people kind of look at the monarchy and say, well, what does it do? Are there any benefits to it? That consistency, that reliability is one of those. She's been the head of state for over 70 years, and for her to no longer be there potentially, of course, the day will eventually come. That will be a huge change. So few people can remember a world without the Queen in it as the monarch, as our head of state. And that consistency, always knowing that she is there, is very comforting to people. You only have to look at the pandemic and the message that she gave, the video message, we will meet again, and how much people respected her for giving that comforting message at that time when the people really needed it, to know that actually that is one of the core benefits of having a monarchy in the UK. So I think people turning out at the palace is definitely just a sign of that. They're showing their good wishes. She's a very well-respected woman, and it's just a sign that people are thinking of her and the wider royal family at this difficult time.
Events have moved at such a rapid rate over the past few years, Victoria, haven't they, really? Because we're talking about the Queen, who has her own health problems, clearly, and then on top of that, the challenge of the pandemic and lockdown, and the very poignant image of the Queen sitting alone at St. George's Chapel, having lost her husband of 73 years. So the pressures here are not just to do with whatever health problems the Queen is dealing with, but also to do with the stresses and strains of dealing with grief and loss as well.
Absolutely, and I think many people will recognise that in their own families, that it's often very difficult for the person left behind of an older couple, and that can have a detrimental effect on their health. Not only that, the stresses of dealing with public life. The Queen only really takes 2 days off a year, Christmas Day and Easter Sunday, when she doesn't have her government red box of papers. There's always something going on for her, and at 96, that goes well beyond the realm of the ordinary pensioner age to kind of slow down. We have seen that in recent years, Charles stepping up a bit more to take on some of those roles from her, most notably recently at the state opening of Parliament. But it has to be remembered that is such a lifelong pressure as monarch that it must take its toll. and she's enjoyed remarkably good health over the decades otherwise. So she's been very, very fortunate.
Victoria, good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Victoria Howard there, adding to the analysis today. She's editor of the Royal News website, The Crown.